It's time for some straight talk. The big wireless companies charge a boatload for their superior network coverage. But guess what? Straight Talk uses the same cell towers but charges a lot less. Who knew? Well, now you do. And I do. So let's do something. It's time to switch to Straight Talk. Unlimited plans start as low as $35 a month on America's largest, most dependable networks. Straight Talk Wireless. Only at Walmart.
Savings may vary. A month equals 30 days. Please refer always to the latest terms and conditions of service at straighttalk.com.
This morning I did something I haven't done in a long time. When Golic and I first saw each other this morning in the makeup room over there, I said, don't say a word. I don't want to know your thoughts on the hit that knocked out Joe Flacco last night, figuratively and almost literally, until we are on the air. So I'm going to get it right now, along with everybody else for the first time. Golic, here is the question of the morning. Was that or was that not a dirty play by Kiko Alonso?
No, it wasn't a dirty play. It was a bang-bang play. It was a late play. He's going to get fined for it, no doubt about it. We'll have to wait
Suspended?
and see if he gets suspended. That I don't know. Listen, where we are in the NFL, I'll get into that. I think where we are in the NFL, if they want this type of thing, though we sit there and say to stop, and I know we're going to get into it more. I go back to the Aaron Rodgers. Could that have been avoided? Go to the Carson Palmer. Could the Carson Palmer have been avoided? I know you talked about it. I get what you're saying. Do we need to protect quarterbacks more? But how? This was a play, if you watch the play, and what everybody's going to do is run it in slow motion, freeze frame it. You can't do that. Because now they'll do that to decide what the penalty and such afterward. But during the game, man, it's bang, bang. You got to understand it was a first down. And while we all see the yellow line, the players don't see the yellow line. The players know where the first down is. They know where they have to go. Mm-hmm. And Joe Flacco knew he had to get to the 10-yard line for the first down. So I could easily see what was happening. Joe's running. Joe sees Kiko Alonso. Joe is gauging, can I make it to the first down or not? And Kiko's knows where the first down is and is like, I want to stop him from getting a first down. So they were going to meet. It was just how they were going to meet. Joe Flacco, at the last second, I think, I don't know for sure, and maybe at some point he'll say, at the last second he thought, I'm not going to make it. So he tried to get down, or he thought he was right there by making it. He would have been short because when you slide feet first, it goes back a little bit. But in watching it, I thought he didn't think at the last second he was going to make it, so he tried to get down. So he started to slide a little late than you normally would slide. Kiko Alonso was already taking off to hit him, and what happened. So do I think it was a dirty play? No. There's a line there of how much do you give a quarterback. If he's into his feet first slide, you can't hit him. And he even heard C.J. Mosley from the Ravens, the other team, say in those situations, what you do when you know the quarterback's going to slide, you take off for his head, knowing full well if he slides, you'll just go right over the top of him. And this was a late slide, in my opinion, by Flacco. Because of the first down marker, he tried to get it, thought he wasn't going to get it. At the last second, started to go down, and Alonso was already taken off. Now, the penalty was right. You can't do it. At the end of the day, the defender ends up being responsible. You know my thought on some of that. But where we are in the game today, he'll be fined. We'll see if he gets suspended. But I'm not going to sit here and say that was a dirty play, that no matter what, that he was taking off, that he knew he was quarterback was going to slide, and he's saying, I'm going to get a headshot on this guy. No way I would say that. It
was a penalty. Were you surprised he wasn't thrown out of the game?
No. Because I really think if you're a referee in that, you have to decide. Now, throwing someone out of the game, you have to decide. Now, did the referee think about all the things that I just thought about? Now, I thought about all that in real time. Mm-hmm. So maybe the ref did as well. There's the first down. Everybody knows where the first down is. He's trying to get the first down. Did he slide late? Now, the ref sees the quarterback get hit in the head. He's going to throw the flag. Right away, you're going to throw the flag. So, to me, I didn't think it was ejectable. I didn't think it was one of those. Remember, it's got to be egregious, like going, oh, my God, I can't believe he did that. If you watch that play as a football play, it was very close to just what I keep saying, and I'll keep saying it all morning. So, no, I don't think it was a dirty play. In today's game, you're going to get penalized, and you may get suspended, and we go from there.
Well, it was the perfect storm because it looks, as you watch it in slow motion, like he kind of loads up for his head, right? He hits him directly in the side of the head. The helmet goes flying off, so it's a terrible look. And Flacco comes up looking like he doesn't know what day of the week it is.
No doubt about it.
And he's got the blood coming out of his ear and everything else. Let me read you the rule. The rule is as follows. Defenders are required to treat a sliding runner as they would a runner who is down by contact.
Right.
A defender must pull up when a runner begins a feet-first slide.
Right.
This does not mean that all contact by a defender is illegal. If a defender has already committed himself and the contact is unavoidable, it is not a foul unless the defender makes forcible contact into the head or neck area of the runner with the helmet, shoulder, or forearm, or commit some other act that is unnecessary roughness. Well, he clearly did that.
That's it right there. I do think that part that you read, that the defender was already committed, but he got him in the head. So he was already committed, so it wasn't the egregious you're tossed out of the game thing, but it was a penalty in today's game. That's what I think.
How is Flacco? That's obviously the first question that you have coming out. Oh, by the way, the game was 40-0. But there were two incidents in it that people were talking a lot about if you didn't watch it last night, and this was overwhelmingly the first one. So here's Coach John Harbaugh on how Flacco is doing.
Joe had a concussion. And a cut ear. His ear was cut from like in here all the way down to his earlobes. They were stitching that up without any anesthesia, so he's a tough dude at halftime, and that's as much as I know about it.
Well, I mean, yeah, he's going to be in that concussion protocol. Didn't even come out of the locker room after halftime. So we'll see where that goes. He looked completely dazed and confused, which isn't shocking. He took a shot right to the head. So that will be the question. It's a guy that's only missed, 6 games, I think, in his career. It was an ACL, MCL years ago that he had. Other than that, he hasn't missed any time. He's been very, very durable, no doubt about that. So we'll see if this one costs him any time or not.
And then as far as the hit is concerned, John Harbaugh didn't have a lot to say about that.
Are you okay? That wasn't a clean hit, was it?
I'm not commenting on that. Yeah, it was. I was penalized correctly, I would say.
You feel like the ejection was?
It's not for me to say. But thanks for asking. Absolutely, no question. No question. It's a fair question. Put it that way.
Sorry, John. He wasn't going down that road, but you saw on the field he wanted to get to Kiko Alonso. I mean, they were John. Everything that happened after that play is almost textbook what goes on. I think it's Kylie Jensen. Ryan Jensen. Ryan Jensen, the center. He did exactly what you should do. He tried to drop Kiko Alonso. He hit him, and then he was on the ground. He tried to bury him. And then you do as a defender what you should do when you see a guy like that hit one of your defenders, and Ndamukong Suh and others came over, and they hit Jensen and knocked him down. I mean, everything happened how it was going to happen there. And there's, unfortunately, Joe Flacco sitting there with no helmet on, looking like he doesn't know where he is, and that's the worst part of this whole thing. In what was an ugly game offensively. We knew these were two bad offenses. It was an ugly game. Matt Moore throws 2 pick sixes. It wasn't even a competitive game, but this is going to obviously be the headline, and certainly going forward for a team for the Baltimore Ravens at the availability of their quarterback.
Yeah, when you have the Thursday night standalone game and the quarterback's helmet goes flying off and he's obviously looking like he doesn't know what's going on, that's obviously that's just a terrible look.
And they have
for
extra
the
time
NFL.
now. I mean, you do have the 10 days now, so we don't know the severity, we don't know the degree, we don't know any of that right now. He looked pretty dazed, but we don't know. So let's wait in here and let's see the time frame to recover.
Going back, you're right. I can't sit here and say that it's a dirty play.
Yeah.
And the single biggest defense, if you want to make one, of Kiko Alonso is exactly what you said. Flacco slides so late. There is actually even something in the rule. I just read you part of the rule. I didn't read all of it. There is something in the rule about how if the runner wants to take advantage of that protection, he has to slide early enough to give it. Here it is. A runner who wishes to take advantage of this protection is responsible for starting his slide before contact by a player is imminent. If he does not and waits until the last moment to begin his slide, he puts himself in jeopardy of being contacted. So if Alonso hits him, I believe Alonso is justified in hitting him. Mm-hmm. But just the way it looks, the forearm to the head, it looks intentional. Now, that doesn't mean that it is intentional because, I get it. These guys are flying. They're running
flying,
as fast as they can.
When you slide, where are you going to hit? I mean, that's the part of the body that's kind of off the ground. The chest, neck, head area, that's the part that's going to get hit.
Right.
And most times when you see this penalty, that's exactly where the quarterback sliding gets hit because the rest of his body's sliding on the ground. So normally it's his head that gets hit. So
it's just a bad-looking play, unfortunately. And Flacco goes out, and it is part of a – so to conclude, you believe the penalty was appropriate.
Penalty was
certainly.
appropriate.
A fine?
I would not have thrown him out of the game for that
fine
at all. he's going to be fine.
I'm making you but you're the person.
Yeah,
you're the arbiter of this. You're in the office.
Yeah,
you're Troy Vincent. It isn't Troy Vincent, but whoever it is that hears these things.
He's going to be fined. As far as a suspension, I would not suspend him, but what I'm going to say is we're talking about more and more protection. You asked it. How do you protect the quarterback even more? Mm-hmm. I don't think you can change any more rules because you can barely do anything to them now. So what you have to change, if you really want to do this, is the punishment for breaking those rules. So not only a fine, Kiko Alonso can afford fine, but if you take him off the field, that really can cost you and your team. So I wouldn't, but then again, I'm a little hard-headed that way. But understanding where the game is now and that they can't do much more to protect the quarterback on the field, maybe this would be a way to say, in all honesty, the guys at the office, because the guys deciding this at the office are former players. Remember that. They're former players. And I think if they suspend them, they're going to suspend Kiko Alonso and not feel good about it. That's my opinion. They're old. They're players who played a little bit in the past. And they're going to suspend him and go, you know what? Don't think he should be suspended, but in today's game, with the message that the league wants to send to the protection of the players, that we're going to suspend him here. That's my guess. That's if he gets suspended.
Well, I'll read you some of the Twitter reaction yesterday from a variety of different people. Dominique Foxworth, our colleague, tweeted, if you think Kiko should have been ejected, you're reacting to the result. Yeah. The action warrants a flag, and that could be debated. Hashtag TNF. So he was strongly on that side. Ross Tucker tweeted, how is he not kicked out? If that's only a 15-yard penalty, then what is there to disincentivize players from knocking quarterbacks out like that?
Well, listen, as I just answered, if he's in a full slide and then Kiko hits him in the head, so be it. You know, listen, I follow Ross Tucker. I like the stuff Ross Tucker does. But, you know, he slid late. He slid late and Kiko was taken off. You read the rule. It's almost textbook what the rule book says. He slid late, so he kind of gave up his right, but Kiko still hit him in the head, which deserves a flag, but not an ejection.
And I you know what? I was listening to Mikey this morning, and he quoted someone, I forget who now, and I can't find it, and I apologize, I can't remember it, as saying, when I played, they called that football.
Yeah.
And I can't remember who he said that. But that, Mikey obviously had seen that on Twitter somewhere.
Sure. But the rule changed.
And so it's changed. But
yes.
The point is, the rule changed on what is legal and not legal, but it has not changed on what's dirty and not dirty.
Right.
So clearly, if it was football once, it isn't dirty now. It doesn't go from football to dirty. It goes from football to against the rules.
Against the rules. That's exactly right.
So I think that's going to be the official position here, and I'm not surprised. It was appropriate to be called a penalty. It will be fined because that's the world we live in now. If Kiko Alonso is suspended, you will disagree with it. Is that the official position?
I would not want the suspension, but I'll say in today's game with how they're trying to protect the quarterback, it wouldn't surprise me that if they threw a suspension in there to really try. Because what are you trying to do? What are you trying to do with the fine and the suspension?
Stop it from happening.
It's exactly right.
Keep quarterbacks healthy, ultimately.
Fine. Listen, no, Kiko Alonso, and I don't know where he is in the giving up money phase of his career. I don't know if he's got fined before because a lot of it's based on that, how much he's going to lose, how much can they up it? Is this a $12,000? Is this a $48,000? I don't know. It's no fun losing money. It's even worse than losing games where then you can lose money as well. So if the league feels, hey, we need to overstep this so guys really think about this on the field, then we need to take it this far. I would not agree with a suspension, but it wouldn't shock me if there is one.
All right, so that certainly was the top story coming out of the sports world last night. Let's go off the top. Oh, by the way, as I mentioned, the game was 40-0. The Ravens beat the Dolphins by a 40-0 score, their largest shutout win in franchise history. Mike, this was a pretty terrible game.
Yeah, it was an awful game, without question. This was the thing everybody's going to talk about because there's no game to talk about. As I said, these were two horrible, horrible offenses, and it showed with the Miami Dolphins under 200 yards of total offense and the Baltimore Ravens under 300 yards of total offense. It was ugly. 2 pick sixes. So the offense, 40-0, 12 of those points coming on defensive touchdowns. there's not a whole lot to say about this game. And we've been getting good Thursday night games. For all the complaining people I've done, I've not been one of them, by the way, that said, oh, my God, Thursday night games, how could we have them? They're so unsafe. They've been horrible games. They've been good games this year so far.
Yeah.
This was an ugly one. But going into it, you knew they were the two worst offenses, but, you didn't see 40. I don't know if you saw 40-0 coming here.
And unfortunately, what it also did was it ended my dreams of being a talent evaluator. with all of my talk about Matt Moore and how great he is and how he's going to take over that job and he's going to take it away from Cutler, and he looked so good last week. How bad must the Jet defense be if he went through them like they were Swiss cheese, and last night he put up a goose egg against the Ravens?
He completed 25 of 44 passes for 176 yards, 2 pick sixes. It was not pretty, and I wonder at some point, maybe at the end of that game, if Adam Gase walked over to Jay Cutler and said, how you feeling?
How the ribs?
How the ribs? What do we think? Yeah.
McShay's job is safe. Greeny was not exactly on the money with that assessment. All right, DeMarcus Cousins, welcome back to Sacramento. He went back to where he played for so many years for the Kings as a Pelican, and he took over the game.
You kidding me? Became the first player in NBA history with 40 points, 20 rebounds, and 5 assists in a game against a former team. He scored 41, 23, and 6. The first player with 40 points, 20 rebounds, and 5 assists in a game since Chris Webber did it in 2000, 2001. And by the way, Webber called the game last night on TNT. First player in the last 35 seasons to go 40 points, 20 rebounds, 5 assists in a road game. And the last 3 players, how about this, taking the assists out of it, the last 3 players with 40 points and 20 rebounds, all of them went to Kentucky.
So Anthony Davis is one of them?
Cousins and a guy we love now, a young player, great Minnesota, Karl Anthony Towns. Yeah. How about that?
40 points
21 rebounds. Yeah, pretty impressive.
Remarkable night, for DeMarcus Cousins going back home. Game 3 of the World Series tonight. You'll hear every pitch on ESPN Radio. Astros and Dodgers even at a game apiece.
So is 7 the lucky number? Whether consecutive or not, every team to win 7 home games in a single postseason also went on to win the World Series. Houston has won 6 home games in a row. This would be 7 tonight. That would be the going on to do it. As I said, have gone on to win the World Series when you've done this. So we'll see if they can do that one tonight. And how about the home run wise? After setting a single season, regular season record in 2017, this postseason is on to possibly setting a playoff record. There have been 90 home runs during this postseason, fourth most in a single playoff. They got to get to 100. 2004, 10 more with the games that are left. I've got to believe they can do that. Well, when you hit 8 in a game, that certainly can get you there.
Right.
Off the top.
It probably will. And then our final story, Joe Girardi will not return as manager of the Yankees this coming season after the most successful tenure of his time. He won more games during his 10 years as manager of the Yankees than anyone else won. No team won more games during that stretch, but the Yankees decided it was time for a change.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to get into this one. Joe Madden, the only manager with more regular season wins than Girardi since 2008. Regular season, 919 for Madden, 910 for Girardi. Girardi's the 6th all-time among Yankees manager in wins, but only won a single World Series title, something the 5 other managers ahead of him all did multiple times. And then get this one. There's a first out of all this offseason. It's the first time that 3 playoff teams changed managers in the same offseason. Yankees, Red Sox, Nationals. All changed managers.
Yeah, and so there's not a whole lot of job stability in that sport, and that is what everyone's talking about. It's Off the Top. It's presented by Progressive Insurance. Now you can test drive Snapshot even if you have insurance with another company. See how much you can save before you switch. I wanted to play you Teixeira on Girardi because, Joe is someone that we know and that we like, and I was sorry to see this happen yesterday. Buster, when he came on with us recently, suggested that he thought it would be Girardi's decision not to come back. Mm-hmm. At least the way it was positioned in their statements yesterday, it was made clear the Yankees didn't want him back. And Joe made it sound like he desperately wanted to be back. Yeah. Now, that's easy to say after they've told you they don't want you back. Maybe he didn't really want to come back as badly as he made it sound like. One way or another, Mark Teixeira, who played for Girardi for years and now, of course, does terrific work as an analyst for us at ESPN, had these thoughts on Girardi.
I think managers today are really they need to be a reflection of the front office and not necessarily be their own guy. And I think with Joe Girardi, this is not a surprise because you look at, Joe's an intense guy.
Yep.
He's a little tight. And I think sometimes when you have a young, talented team like the Yankees are going to have now for a long time, you want to see a manager that's maybe a little bit looser, can maybe communicate a little bit better with his players. And what made Joe great, Joe's a really good manager. He's a good man, but he's also so intense that sometimes that rubs the front office the wrong way and it rubs the players the wrong way.
So I think a lot of it is a feel of where we are. So Joe Girardi can manage again. Now, will he go to a team maybe that's an older team? This is a younger team, just what Teixeira said. And Teixeira is going to know a whole lot about, that dugout, no doubt about it. Do managers in baseball now need to be in lockstep with management and the numbers thing? Like a Dave Roberts or an A.J. Hinch, if you say they're in lockstep there with those numbers type of game plan.
And Girardi is that kind of guy.
Yeah.
Girardi is a numbers guy for sure.
But as Tech said, a little intense, and you got a really young, talented roster here, so maybe the fit just isn't right. And 10 years, we've had, what was it, Marty Schottenheimer, one of the
Chuck
coaches.
Daly was the first one I remember saying.
And then we heard it as well from Marty Schottenheimer, said 10 years, it just, maybe it's just time for a change. And I think the perfect storm here of the analytics, the intenseness of Girardi, the young age of this team, then maybe it was time to make a move.
Yeah, I'll be very interested to see where they go, and I'll be interested to see what he decides to do. And I'll remind you, the road to the World Series goes right through us at ESPN Radio. You can hear all the action presented by AutoZone on ESPN Radio, ESPNRadio.com, and the ESPN app. We are just getting rolling here on Mike and Mike, a very busy Friday with plenty of football and more. We're presented by Progressive Insurance, our guests on the Shell Pennzoil Performance line. And coming up, we will explain why this coming March may be the most important month that football has had in a really long time.
Home isn't just a place. It's a feeling. Whether you're at home, your business, or online, ADT helps keep you safe. With security systems, home automation, alarms, and surveillance, so you can feel at home wherever you are. Go to ADT.com to get that feeling. ADT. Home. Safe home.
Hey everyone, Mike Golic here. Support for the Mike and Mike podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. Rocket Mortgage is simple, allowing you to fully understand all the details and be confident you're getting the right mortgage for you. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS, consumeraccess.org number 3030.
Twitter through the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed. Alan Funk tweets, BS Golic. Alonso was headhunting. You could see him adjust for the maximum effect. It was like perfect hit on Antonio Brown.
Listen, Alan, you can have your opinion all you want. That's fine. Now, you have your opinion. I have my opinion. I'm going to stick with mine. I mean, you want to think that's fine.
40-year-old Pats fan tweets, Alonso ducks his head just before he makes contact with his shoulder, protects himself, but no regard for Flacco. Eject him.
Since when are you supposed to have regard for the person you're tackling, by the way?
You're not supposed to hit him in the head.
Well, you're not supposed to hit him. As I said, show me one sliding quarterback where you see a flag where he doesn't get hit in the head. That's basically all that's available to hit. And Joe Flacco, in my opinion, slid late. So some of that's on him, and it says it right in the rules as well. It's actually part of the rules that are written that you get the protection of sliding, but if you slide late, you lose that protection. Now, you still can't get hit in the head, and so that's why the flag is justified. But sorry, you got to understand the play. He was looking to go. This was one of those you could, in a split second, 100 things can go through your mind. I'm telling you, he knew where the first down was. Alonso knew where the first down was. You saw Flacco look up at one point. He saw Alonso, and he knew where he had to get for the first down. And at the last second, I think he felt, I'm not going to make it, and I'm going to try and get down, so I'm going to start to slide, and Alonso has already taken off.
One Love tweets, watching hits like that one in slow motion makes it look worse, or like there's more intent than possibly intended. You made that point right off the top of the show.
Yeah.
It's a play that they will watch in slow motion. You do watch in slow motion, but the game isn't played in slow motion. And as a consequence, you can assign a lot of things to intention based upon the amount of time it takes to happen in slow motion.
Right.
but they're doing it in real time.
Yes, they are.
And that's the other thing. You just said a million things can go through your mind. But I've always thought to myself, does anything go through your mind? Like, I've always thought you guys practice so much so that you can just react instinctually and not actually think. Like, he's not thinking to himself, there's the first down, he's going to slide, I got to pull up, right? He's just going 100 miles an hour. He's
going, and I'm telling you what is can I make the first down?
No, I'm talking about Alonso now. Forget about Flacco.
Oh, Alonso.
He's just running as fast as he can. He's going to hit him, and Flacco slides so late that Alonso can't stop him.
Yeah, but Alonso knows where the first down marker is as well. But yes, Alonso's going there with the intent of hitting him, which you do as a defender. You can't just tiptoe up there and hope he slides, because some guys will try and slide head first to get that first down. You slide head first, you get no protection. You get hit. But And you didn't know, was Flacco going to dive forward to try and get the first down on that one? Is Kiko just supposed to start to let up? No. You go with the full intent to hit somebody. And if he starts to slide at the appropriate time, and it's still tough to do, you have to. C.J. Mosley, Flacco's own teammate, said in those cases, and he's a linebacker as well, he said, for a play like that, he said, when I know a quarterback is in the middle of the field and probably going to slide, I'm going to take off aiming at his head, knowing full well if he slides, I should fly right over the top of him. So if Kiko Alonso did that, the slide was so late that he was still contacted with his head. I'm not saying it wasn't flag worthy, but I'm also saying it wasn't dirty, and I didn't think it deserved an ejection, and we'll see if it gets a suspension or not.
I have that. Do you want to play the C.J. Mosley?
Sure, yeah.
Let's play it. So I'm told that we have it ready to go. Brooksy has it. So this was C.J. Mosley. Bear in mind, again, as you listen, this is Flacco's teammate, not Alonso's teammate, and he's a linebacker, and he's talking about the way they're taught to hit on a play like that. Here's C.J. Mosley.
When the quarterback slides, you want to aim for the head, because when he do slide, your trajectory is going to be over, going over where his head was at the initial play. But whether some it was asking, was it clean, was it dirty, it don't matter. At the end of the day, our quarterback went down, and the whole team took it personal. We was all right there on the sideline, and that's just how we are. We're a family. That's our quarterback, and that really set the tone for the rest of the game. It was a little chippy, going throughout that, but that's our type of football. That's what we do for 4 quarters. So hope he's okay and everything with him. But we're just looking out for our family.
Yeah, listen, after the play, everything that happens. You fight, you stick up for your guys. You try not to have your guy get, as Jensen that was trying to stand up for Flacco by knocking over Alonso. Then he got jumped on. Everybody kind of jumps, and you do what you do at that point. But, again, Mosley, that's what he said. He talked about that play and then said, but at the end of the day, our quarterback got hurt, so, we hope he's okay. But, so I keep watching that play, and nothing's going to change in my view of that.
There was another play last night, just quickly here, by another Dolphins defender, this one with a reputation, of course, and that's Ndamukong Suh on a play where he goes over the line of scrimmage, and the play is dead, and there's a little bit of shoving, and he winds up grabbing the quarterback, who at this point is Ryan Mallett, by the throat. It's brief, but he does grab him sort of by the throat, and it's one where people will take the still frame of that, and it looks like Suh is choking Ryan Mallett, if only for a moment. What did you make of that?
Nothing. Absolutely zero of that. But it's Suh, and he has a reputation. Well, not a reputation. We've seen him stomp people, so he grabbed someone by the throat. He grabbed him by the throat and pushed him away. That is nothing. There are guys that get up off the ground after a play if they don't like someone. They'll push up off somebody's throat. That's nothing. There was another play, another action on that play that was far worse. That even if you're watching on TV, you won't see it well. So I'll just describe it for you and for radio. William Haynes, a defensive lineman, in the scrum that was going on, reached into the face mask of the Baltimore Ravens offensive lineman Austin Howard and poked him in the eye. That is 1,000 times worse than that Ndamukong Suh supposed choke and push away. That, to me, is nothing. You reach inside a guy's face mask and poke him in the eye, and there were 2 penalties on it, actually 3 penalties on the play. Suh got a penalty, which was declined. They took the William Hayes penalty, who poked the guy, Austin Howard, in the eye. I saw that happen firsthand when we played Minnesota, or when I was with the Eagles, and Al Baker, Ron Heller was on his knees after playing. Al Baker just reached in and poked him right in the eye. I mean, I've never seen Buddy Ryan lose his mind more at halftime of when that happened, because that was apparent to everybody. It was horrible. I mean, and that, you want to talk about the damage that can cause?
That's a dirtier play.
That is 1,000 times. Those 2 things that you see, and you can't really see the eye poke, but the eye poke happened. The Suh thing is almost not even worth. If it wasn't Suh, it wouldn't be brought up. quite honestly. That is nothing in the scheme of what went on in that play with the guy poking the other guy in the eye.
The one thing that I did find funny in Sue's quote, which I hadn't seen until right now, they just put it up on our screen. He said, Mallett tried to attack me, and I'm protecting myself.
That is funny.
Ryan Mallett couldn't attack Ndamukong Suh in a meaningful way if you gave him an actual mallet. Ryan with a mallet is not a threat to Ndamukong Suh.
No, you're right.
Ndamukong Suh is like a county. I mean, have you ever been around? He's the biggest, strongest guy in the world.
Monster.
And Ryan Mallett is a big, strong quarterback.
Yeah, he is. He's a big quarterback.
But I don't think Ndamukong Suh is afraid of being attacked by Ryan Mallett on the field.
I would have steered clear of that line.
He tried to attack me, so I'm protecting myself.
Self-defense.
Anyway, so that was last night, and it's unfortunate. As you said, we've had some very good Thursday night games. The one with San Francisco and the Rams was very good. The one last week with the Chiefs and Raiders was one of the best games of the NFL season. Last night was horrendous.
Horrible.
You know that one of the most interesting things that came out of the game were these. It's a shame, but one way or another, the Ravens get the win and the Dolphins a love 40 loss. I will get next, I promise, to where I intended to go there, and that is this. The biggest month the NFL has in front of it is next March. And you will hear from Adam Schefter why that is.
Hey girl, have you done something new with your scales? Using new moisturizer? Nice. It really brings out the hazel in your eyes. Oh, hold on. Are you using whitening strips too? Your fangs look good, girl. Really good.
A really charming snake charmer? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
Wait, what? Have you been doing Pilates too?
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Couple more tweets. Susan tweets at you, Golic, thanks for staying consistent. In my opinion, protect the quarterback behind the line of scrimmage. Past the line of scrimmage is fair game.
Fair game to a point. I get if a guy wants to give himself up. But again, I mean, you don't know all the time as a defender he's going to give himself up feet first or head first. Is there a first down in play? You know, so as you're running up to the quarterback, are you supposed to start slowing down? God forbid you start slowing down. There's another person that can still block you. You know, as you slow down, you don't know the intent of the quarterback. That's why the quarterback, if he's going to slide, the rule says slide. Let everybody know you're sliding. But you know what? If you're trying to get a couple extra yards to get that first down, so now your slide's a little late, tough. You know, I mean, that's the way it goes. You know, you can't have complete protection here if you start to slide too late. And I'll just keep repeating myself. He thought he could get the first down, judged, I think, at the end of it he couldn't, and tried to get down. And he got down late as Alonso was already going for his tackle.
Yeah, the more you have talked, the more in the 45 minutes that we've been on the air so far, you've convinced me. I came in here this morning ready to say that I thought that was a dirty play, but you've convinced me it's not. It's not a dirty play. He can't stop that. Does he give him a little oomph? That he maybe doesn't have to. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. It's not for me to say. It certainly looks like it in slow motion, but I recognize it's not played in slow motion. For whatever this is worth, and I'll just throw this into the mix, Alonso doesn't get up looking like he thinks he's about to be in a fight either. Like Alonso immediately, when he gets up, he's facing in the other direction. The guys who are running up behind to kill him are not in his line of sight. So Alonso first gets up, like he doesn't get up in a defensive posture.
Like, oh, I know I just did something bad. I got to get ready to take somebody.
He just kind of looks like he thinks he made a regular play.
Right.
Now, that's not a perfect way to judge something, but when it does happen, that kind of bang, I think it does matter. One way or another, you've convinced me. Yeah. It's not a dirty play. It's a penalty. Yeah. It'll definitely be a fine. I wouldn't even be surprised in where we are now if it is a suspension.
That's going to be the interesting thing to me because, as I said, you can't do too much more on the field rule-wise to a quarterback. So if you make the penalties even tougher for things that are flagged, then maybe that helps somehow, some way. I don't know.
All right, you swayed me. Mike and Mike, let's do some Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless, best phones, best networks, no contracts. This is Shefty in our studio yesterday, and we were talking about some of the different possibilities out there of quarterbacks, and Cousins, and Breeze is going to be a free agent, and all the kids that are going to be in the draft that a lot of people like. And as we were just sort of thinking it through, you'll hear Shefty musing on what is going to be a fascinating and league-changing offseason.
We are looking at an offseason that is going to be very unusual in the NFL. An offseason that I don't think we've seen in a very long time, if ever. Drew Brees' contract is up. He can't be franchised. Jimmy Garoppolo is scheduled to be a free agent. Kirk Cousins has been tagged twice and is scheduled to be a free agent. We've got a great draft class of quarterbacks. Sam Bradford's contract's up. Teddy Bridgewater's contract's up. There are all of a sudden all these quarterbacks that are appealing in different ways that are attractive.
Boy, that is true.
Interesting, right?
Yeah.
So I just started writing down names as he was talking. Straight Talk Wireless nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. That's what I meant when I said that next March, which is when free agency is, it's actually March 12th through the 14th is the opening of that. I looked it up this morning as I was writing my open. Is going to be a league reshaping period of time. Again, Breeze, Cousins, Garoppolo, Bradford, Bridgewater, and there will be others, plus Josh Rosen, Josh Allen, maybe Sam Darnold, Mason Rudolph, a lot of guys that people out there like. So you're talking about a lot of quarterbacks that could be moving around, and the biggest name, of course, is Drew Brees.
The biggest, without question, is Drew Brees. And it is interesting what we brought up yesterday, the fact that they're playing better. And if you think you're close and your defense is getting better, man, then you have to decide, okay, we're going to spend a lot of money here. It won't be a long contract because of his age, but there'll be a lot of money involved. Do you start over with another quarterback when you're closer? I mean, that's a decision right there to make, quite honestly. I mean, I guess that would be my thing. Wait a minute, we've taken a pretty nice step, and we'll see where they finish up. I mean, they could be in the playoffs this year, the way they're playing right now. So they get there, and you're like, okay, we're pretty good here. Let's not bring our quarterback back. Who are you getting? So that's an interesting older player. Where are we now? To money situation thing. We all think Kirk Cousins is going to be gone. Garoppolo is going to be a very interesting one because if he stays there, Tom Brady is on pace to do Tom Brady things still. Okay? So if Tom Brady does Tom Brady things this year, do we really think I know the history of Bill Belichick in getting rid of guys or trading them or moving on from them a year or two before. A, really you have to pay them, or B, maybe they're starting to wind down. Do we think that's going to happen with Tom Brady? I have said time and time again, I do not. As long as Brady has his Brady-type year, which he is having, you would agree with that, correct?
That he's having. He's the MVP of the league.
Which is a Brady-type year.
Yeah, of course.
Which he can do. So makes next year so interesting because Garoppolo's deal is up. So if Tom Brady is a starting quarterback next year and Jimmy Garoppolo is on the team next year, there's a good chance Jimmy Garoppolo will be making more money than Tom Brady.
Oh, I think it's a lock. I think if he's still there, it's a lock that he'll be making more money.
Which is just amazing.
I think they'll have to franchise him.
Just knowingly doing that. Preparing for your next guy is pretty. That's a really interesting.
That's a huge story. I mean, there's no question. A huge storyline will be what do the Patriots do with Garoppolo, because it is my belief that Bill decided Garoppolo is his quarterback of the future because he would have traded him last year. Bill is so shrewd. He can't trade him this offseason. He's a free agent. So if he was going to get something for this asset, and Garoppolo was and is a very valuable asset, he would have gotten a first-round pick for Garoppolo, I think, for sure. He would have traded him last year. So I don't think he's trading. Now he can't trade. He won't be able to trade him. I think he's decided he is my future. But you're exactly right. You're not going to dump Brady if Brady is playing at this level.
No, you're not.
So I think he does keep him. And it sets up a really interesting scenario if Garoppolo winds up getting franchised. If Breeze does become a free agent, where does he go? I mean, there's a lot of different places where you look around and you say, if you upgrade the quarterback to the point of Breeze, so you upgrade now someone to Hall of Fame level. Yeah. The first place everyone's going to look is Jacksonville. Now, let me ask you this. Bortles has had a lot of bad moments. He's had some good games. No chance? No chance he wins it over.
And me, no.
So you're moving on from him.
I'm moving on.
You're Doug Marrone. You're moving on.
Moving on.
All right. Well, then my first call is to Drew Brees. Right? I mean, depending on the money circumstance, and I don't know much about Jacksonville's cap space, but they have a lot of young players who are generally not expensive. That's the first call I make.
They've also spent a lot in free agency on some of those defensive players.
That's true.
A lot of money.
I think Julius Thomas cost them a lot of money, too, the tight end. But I don't know when those deals run out or anything like that. All I'll say is, if they can afford Drew Brees, that's the first play. I'm calling him and I'm begging him.
Yeah, with that defense, man, you get that. You don't have to just rely on turning around and handing the ball off to Leonard Fournette.
But you can.
Game. But you can and then throw the ball in that defense. I'm with you.
I also think if I'm Brees, I'd like to have that at this stage of his career to be able to turn around and hand the ball off to Fournette would be awful.
Get him,
nice.
Big guy.
Okay, did the Yankees make the right or the wrong decision in firing Joe Girardi? Michael Kay will weigh in on that as we continue next, plus much more on this Football Friday. Back in a moment.
I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I've never felt more alive. Disclaimer. Geico cannot guarantee you will feel more alive. You either possess functioning respiratory and circulatory systems, or you do not, or you are a zombie. If you are indeed a brain-starved zombie and you would like to save money on car insurance, the Geico legal team applauds your excellent life choices, even in your shambling afterlife. But we strongly encourage you to visit geico.com or download the Geico app. Please stay a minimum of 500 feet away from our large and presumably delicious, delicious brains.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
It's time for some straight talk. The big wireless companies charge a boatload for their superior network coverage. But guess what? Straight Talk uses the same cell towers but charges a lot less. Who knew? Well, now you do. And I do. So let's do something. It's time to switch to Straight Talk. Unlimited plans start as low as $35 a month on America's largest, most dependable networks. Straight Talk Wireless. Only at Walmart.
Savings may vary. A month equals 30 days. Please refer always to the latest terms and conditions of service at straighttalk.com.
Here we are, Mike and Mike, rolling along, presented by Progressive Insurance. Michael Kay will join us in a couple of minutes on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line with perspective on the Yankees moving on from Joe Girardi. He knows Girardi really well. He not only does he host afternoons on ESPN Radio in New York, but he does the Yankee games on Yes, and he did them with Joe Girardi for a while before Girardi got the managerial job with the Yankees. So we'll get perspective from him on all of that. But if you heard in the open, you heard Golic's take on the big hit of last night. The game last night was awful. 40-0 Ravens. But the big hit by Kiko Alonso on Joe Flacco as Flacco was sliding. It's clearly a late slide, and Alonso hits him directly in the side of the head. The helmet goes flying off. It's a concussion. It's a cut ear. So it's a terrible-looking play. Golic does not believe it was a dirty play. It was a 15-yard penalty. It was not. Alonso was not thrown out of the game. Here was Kiko Alonso afterwards.
It was bang, bang. You know, he got to the point where I thought maybe if he slid a second sooner, I was anticipating him to slide and I was going to not hit him. But I think it was like, second late, which is why I hit him.
Is there anything that you could have done to avoid that contact or not put your shoulder into it?
No. I mean, no way. I mean, what the target, that's the target. You know, when a guy slides, his target is very small. And like I said, it's a bang, bang play. I hope he's all right. It's really good.
I mean, he said it right there, too. Everybody, always, people say, why you have to hit him in the head? Well, when you slide, the target is very small. I mean, what is there to hit that's not sliding? And it was a late slide, so you have an aiming point, and then you're hitting what's available, what's up as you're sliding, and it was a shoulder to the head. It wasn't head-to-head. It was a shoulder to the head. And, you do hope Flacco is okay, but everybody's going to watch this play at slow motion or frame by frame, which is fine, and if you want to do it that way, but you have to understand the players out there playing, it's at full speed, and what's going on in the mind of, as he said, I anticipated him sliding. He didn't. And you're talking, again, the split, talking about what goes in your mind in a split second?
Sure.
So that's what he's thinking.
Yeah.
Flacco, I know, is thinking, can he get to the first down marker, and then realizes he can't too late and starts to slide late. Kiko said, I was ready to pull off because I thought he was going to slide, and he didn't. That 1 second at that speed, that's the result.
Yeah, you have completely convinced me. And actually, everything he said there I thought sounded completely legit. It is the slide comes so late. We heard C.J. Mosley earlier this morning, Flacco's teammate, say, when a quarterback slides, you aim for the head. Well, that's what Alonso said. But in this case, he slid so late that when aiming for the head, he hit him in the head.
Yep, still got him.
Normally, the guy will slide under you, and you kind of go right over the top of him. But in this case, Flacco's slide was so late. Let me play Darren Woodson, and then we'll get to Michael Kay. Here's our own Darren Woodson last night. And as you would expect from a defensive player, he did not think it was dirty either.
I thought it was a bang-bang play, much like Kiko Alonso did. It felt like Joe Flacco was trying to get the first down, and he was doing his job. Kiko Alonso was doing his job to stop the first down. And we see Joe Flacco's trying to get there. Now, I haven't seen Joe Flacco move that fast in a long time. He slides at the first down marker. Kiko Alonso tries to stop him at the same time, and it's a bang-bang play. Listen, I think the problem here is this. Kiko Alonso came through and aimed for up high and hit him in the head with his shoulder. And I think that's going to be the problem when the NFL takes a look at this. They're going to send him a fine. He's getting a FedEx in the mail. He'll get fined for this hit. But at the same time, I still feel like there was no malice involved. There was no intent to do any harm to Joe Flacco. But Kiko Alonso is going to take it on the chin, and the NFL is going to make him pay dearly for this.
Agree 100%. And for those that say it was a dirty hit and it could have been avoided, I want you to explain to me how. Don't look at slow motion or frame to frame. Watch that replay in regular motion, and you tell me with the late slide how Kiko Alonso could have held up or could have pulled off of that one. It's just tough to do when you made that commitment to go.
More football to come on this Friday with Mike and Mike, presented by Progressive Insurance. Progressive is celebrating 5 years and more than 500 cars donated to vets. To learn more, visit keystoprogress.com. But, of course, the World Series continues tonight, the world of baseball, with a lot of news. We mentioned it earlier. 3 of the final 8 teams standing in this year's baseball postseason made managerial changes during the offseason. The Nationals making a move, the Red Sox making a move, and yesterday the New York Yankees making a move away from their longtime manager, Joe Girardi. And here with thoughts on that, as I mentioned, Michael Kay, who not only hosts afternoons on ESPN Radio New York, but does the Yankee games on Yes and worked with Girardi and the broadcast booth before Joe took over the managerial job, so knows him extremely well. With that as the backdrop, we say good morning, Michael Kay.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
Well, good. We're fine, and we know there's nothing in the world you love more than waking up really early like this to talk with us. So I know you're obviously delighted.
Well, you know what? When I wake up before my 2- and 4-year-olds, I'm doing something.
Boy, what a commitment!
All right, so were you surprised? I mean, Buster had given us a heads up about 2 weeks ago on the air here that he expected this to happen. Were you at all surprised that this happened yesterday?
I'm not surprised that he's not the manager of the New York Yankees anymore. I'm surprised that the Yankees said, we don't want you to be the manager anymore. In spring training, I told a lot of people I thought that this was going to be it for Joe, that he was pretty much fried, but I thought that he was re-energized during the season when he saw the pipeline of players and the players that he had now and how bright the future was. And although, you had heard rumblings that there was some discord between Joe and the front office, you figured that 91 wins and going to the 7th game of the ALCS probably would have smoothed that over. So when I heard that the Yankees said goodbye, that was surprising.
Why do you think they did it?
Well, from what I've been able to piece together, he gave some pushback at times with the overwhelming analytics that the Yankees endorse. I mean, this is a heavily analytic team. Everything is driven by the numbers. It's all black and white. There's very little room for a manager to manage by the gut. And also, our friend Ian O'Connor had a perfect line that kind of sums up. Joe Girardi is a clenched fist, and that's how he goes about his job. And I think that the front office was somewhat concerned was that constant driving, tension, needing to win every single game. He's probably more suited to be a football coach than a baseball coach. Over 162 games, over 6 months, the Yankee front office, I believe, felt that wore on the players because players feed off their leader's demeanor. And Joe's demeanor is that of a very, very intense guy.
I get that part of it, Michael, but the one thing I did find interesting was after that Friday night in Cleveland where they had that really bad loss and Girardi made some mistakes and we saw all the criticism and everything else, it felt to me, and you're much closer to it than I am, but just watching it felt to me like the players on that team really wanted to have his back. Like there was a real genuineness in their wanting not only to win, obviously, because they wanted to win, but to get Joe off the hook, which they did by coming all the way back to winning that series. And that spoke to me about the way those players felt about him. Do I have that right or wrong?
I believe, and I believed at the time, that that's a totally false narrative. And Golic could probably speak more to this than I can, but players are playing to win for themselves. I mean, there's very little win one for the Gipper anymore. And although Joe was respected in that room, he wasn't loved. That's the difference between Joe Girardi and Joe Torre. Joe Girardi respected. Everybody sees how hard he works. Torre the same deal, but Torre's players loved him. Very little love. I don't think there was hate, but there was very little love between the players and Joe. Joe's not a warm and cuddly guy, so I don't think that they got together and said, let's win one for Joe. Let's get him off the hook because he didn't challenge Lonnie Chisenhall getting hit by that pitch. I just don't buy it. I just don't think that's how players think.
Completely agree with you. It is very few and far between in today's sporting world where the players are saying, let's win one for the Gipper. They're out there trying to win, and if it helps the manager or coach along the way, then so be it. I completely agree with that. So what type of manager do you think the Yankees will be looking for, and who do you think that may be?
Well, being around this team, for 31 years now, what they've always done is when a manager goes, they hire the opposite. So when Buck Showalter left, a hard-driving guy, then it was Joe Torre, not as hard-driving. And after Joe Torre left, then they went to Girardi. So I think that it would be more of a I wouldn't say a warm and fuzzy guy, but certainly a guy who's not as intense as Joe Girardi. And the Yankees have really circled the wagons. They have not really leaked that much at all. The names that you're hearing, maybe a Raul Ibanez, in their minor league system, a Josh Paul, from their major league coaching staff, Rob Thompson, who's been with the organization over a quarter of a century. Kevin Long might be somebody that'd be interested in. A front office guy like Tim Naring, who's 50 years old but has never managed anywhere. The guy that will be chosen is a guy who has a relationship with Brian Cashman. That's important. Managerial experience, I don't think it's that important because I think that could be taught. But the willingness to dive head first into the analytics situation and manage that way and have a good relationship with the players, that's the type of guy I think they look for.
Mike and Michael Kay, and obviously a lot of Yankee fans looking at a lot of different puzzle pieces that are moving around through the sport with the Yankee legend Derek Jeter taking over in Miami and some questions about what will happen there. They'll look at another Yankee legend in Don Mattingly, who might become someone who's available, who was passed over for this last time when they decided to hire Girardi. Is there any conceivable chance you could see that happening?
No, I've been asked that so much, and I think that's the dream of Yankee fans. And Don Mattingly is one of my favorite people that I've ever covered in my career. But if they passed him over 10 years ago, when George Steinbrenner was alive, and when everybody that made those decisions knew that there were two players in the history of the Yankees since George Steinbrenner brought them that he actually looked at as sons, Derek Jeter and Don Mattingly. If he didn't get the job then, not that much has changed now. And the guy who made the decision then is the same guy who's making the decision now, and that's Brian Cashman. I just don't think that Brian looks at Donnie that way because, there were three guys that interviewed for the job after Joe Torre. It was Girardi, Pena, and Mattingly came in third. So I don't see that happening.
Michael, the future Joe Girardi, what do you think he does?
Well, if he had walked away, I thought he'd go like a couple of years and not manage. His son Dante is an extraordinary athlete. He's going to begin high school, and I thought that Joe would see some of that through. But I think Joe's a little bit shaken up. He did not expect this to happen. He really wanted to stay manager of the Yankees. So, I don't know how a Washington Nationals team doesn't take a look at him. I think he'll manage as soon as he can. But time has gone by, and some of the positions have dried up. So if the few that are left don't consider him, obviously there's always a position for him in broadcasting. He's a great broadcaster, but I think he's going to manage again. And I think he's got respect around the baseball. And maybe, some of the things he's hearing now about why he was let go, maybe he improves on those things, but I'm not sure you can unclench a fist.
It's Michael Kay. Again, you'll hear him this afternoon and every afternoon on ESPN Radio New York. Michael, thanks a million for doing this. We'll talk to you again soon. Take care.
You got it, guys. Have a good weekend.
Michael Kay with us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance line, taking synthetic, motor oil performance to a whole new level. Make the switch to Pennzoil Synthetics today.
You heard him mention Ian O'Connor. Ian O'Connor had a series of tweets yesterday, and that's and very close, obviously, ESPN.com, ESPNNewYork.com author as well. These are some tweets in succession from Ian O'Connor. The Yankees have long been frustrated with Joe Girardi's failure to apply a more human touch to the job. Hurt him a lot. Next tweet. Joe Girardi's relationship with his players, though not entirely broken, was not what his bosses hoped it would be. Another tweet. Well-connected Yankees source said in playoffs that notion the players 1-1 for Joe versus Cleveland wasn't based in fact. Another tweet. Yankees execs persuaded Girardi to humanize himself in 2009. Disappointed he never took additional steps from there. So those are some of the tweets from Ian
Humanize
O'Connor.
himself is a fascinating choice of words.
I get what they're saying.
So do I. Of course. He is an intense person. The book on him is he manages every game like it's Game 7 of the World Series. And, of course, you can't do that in May and June and all the rest of that. I will just say this. Two things. One, you and I have both seen Girardi outside of that milieu. He is an emotional guy.
Yes, he is.
We did the reason that we first met him was that we hosted a March of Dimes luncheon in Manhattan. This is years and years ago. I remember they honored several celebrities, including Venus Williams and Joe Girardi. And Girardi got up there and he spoke and he teared up and he was thanking his wife and he started crying, remember? And I thought to myself, this is not the image that people have of Joe Girardi. And so I had that. So the human side of it, I get it. He's an intense person. That's the way. That's his managerial style. Lots of guys are that way, and they've had a lot of success doing that. I've always said, look at a team, look at the players, and then say, did they win more games than, fewer games than, or about the same games as you would expect them to? And I think they overachieved. I think for that team this year to win as many games as they did and go as deep as they did into the playoffs, they were one game away from going to the World Series. I think he did a great. I mean, I think that he just did a great job as the manager. I think taking everything else out of it, he did a great job managing.
I agree.
He's
had a winning season every year. Now people are going to say, well, they have the money to spend to have a good season. We both like him. Bottom line is we both like him as a person, and we both think he's a good manager. But from the Yankee side of it, management side of it, I agree with you. I think they were early this year, so they overachieved a bit this year. But, that's what you have to do if you're management. You have to look ahead and you say, okay, we got these young guys. We really like bringing them along, and we want a different personality to bring them along. So I think that's basically where it is, don't you? I mean, I think that's exactly. It is. Yeah. So I think that's the type of manager you're going to get.
I think he also may not. He's a person who's doing his job. I don't know that he managed up as well as they may have liked.
Right.
Also. So there you have that. Girardi out as manager of the Yankees. We'll see where they go. Again, it's a sport where 3 of the last 8 teams standing made managerial changes. The last 8 teams with a chance to win the World Series included the Red Sox, the Nationals, and the Yankees. They will all have new managers next year. I want to read you a tweet. We're Mike and Mike, presented by Progressive Insurance, our guests on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. And as I clicked on my inbox here, my timeline, or the mentions.
There you go.
Jeff tweeted at us 10 minutes ago. Let's be honest. If Tom Brady is on the receiving end of that hit last night, it's treated like a national tragedy by everyone. Now, I know it wouldn't be by you.
No.
I know. Let me stop you. I know you wouldn't say anything different. No. But do you think the reaction this morning would be different if that was a different quarterback?
Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers. We heard it with Aaron Rodgers in what was a clean hit. Everybody still lost their mind trying to find a way to say it was a dirty hit. So, yeah, I think no doubt about it. I mean, just pick a quarterback. Cam Newton, how many shots does Cam Newton
they don't even throw a flag.
They don't even throw flags on him. So that's happened to Ben Roethlisberger as well. Flacco's certainly not known to be a running quarterback at all, and he was humping there trying to get to the first down. I do think from a national perspective, it would make a difference of what quarterback it was. But from mine, it certainly doesn't, and from a football player's, it shouldn't. Do you think if Kiko Alonso is in that same position running up and it's Tom Brady, that he's going to think in his head? I said a lot of things go through your mind. You know what's not going through his mind? Well, this is Tom Brady. I better not hit him or I'm going to lose a lot of money. You're still out there trying to make a football play. He's trying to get the first down. We know what yard line the first down is. He's trying to get it. I'm going to try and stop him. He slid late. He took the hit that he took. Now, you're going to get fined now for it, but from the football side of it, you don't think about that out there. You after the play is called, you probably go, well, yeah, it's Tom Brady or it's Aaron Rodgers, probably why they threw the flag. Drew Brees, as opposed to, quarterback A, B, or C, who you don't know as well.
Exactly, but that doesn't change the fact that if we open the show this morning and Tom Brady is the one who got up with his helmet knocked off and blood coming out of his ear and looking like he doesn't know what stadium he's in, what city he's in, what day it is. That would lead. Good Morning America
sure would.
And all those shows, they'd be talking about it. And that just is what it is.
Yes, it is.
It doesn't change the action.
Does not change the action at all.
And as Dominique said, if Flacco just bounces up and he's fine, if the helmet doesn't come off and Flacco bounces up and he's fine, it's a 15-yard penalty, and we open the show this morning with you saying that shouldn't even be a flag.
Yeah.
What in the world is he supposed to do? They can't make any more rules to protect these quarterbacks. You're right. So, the reaction, sometimes our reaction is predicated upon how something turns out. Yeah. It just looks bad when his helmet flies off and the look on his face.
It does. Yeah, it does. And when you can do it in slow motion and look at it that way, everybody go, oh, my God, throw that guy out of the game, suspend them. What a dirty play.
And by the way, I also, as a consequence of last night's game, have to announce the end of my bid here to try to replace Todd McShay or Mel Kiper as an analyst of these players and how good they are. Because I spent 3 days
anointing Matt Moore,
making Matt Moore like the next Tom Brady, and then he spent He spent 60 minutes last night convincing me and everyone else that I have no idea what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, my God, was that awful.
Listen, he was playing against a really good defense, no doubt about it, but 2 pick sixes, it just wasn't happening. So, we already heard, we talked about it yesterday, that Jay Cutler may be able to go next week. So I don't think there's any doubt that as soon as Jay Cutler's ready to go, even as bad as he's been playing, he's going to be the quarterback in the Miami Dolphins.
My God.
Yeah.
I mean, it's such a ridiculously strange game. So taking all the joking around about it aside, Moore comes into the game last week. Mm-hmm. He takes over an offense that has looked all day long, has looked moribund, it has looked slow, it has looked lifeless. And he comes onto the field and he just takes
Sparks
over.
him. Get a spark.
It was a total spark.
Mm-hmm.
And the Dolphin offense looked really good. And Stills is making great catches and he's throwing the ball around different people. And they just looked like an entirely different team and they come back and win. And then 4 days later, they look like the worst offense in the entire NFL.
A guy comes in, a spark comes in, you make a couple of plays and everybody gets lifted a little bit, right? So you kind of run with that. And in this game, they never got to that point. It was almost like same old, here we go again. So nobody got lifted. So you want to obviously put it on the players, put it on execution, give credit to the defense of the Baltimore Ravens. A lot of ways to go.
Strange sport.
Home isn't just a place. It's a feeling. Whether you're at home, your business, or online, ADT helps keep you safe. With security systems, home automation, alarms, and surveillance. So you can feel at home, wherever you are. Go to ADT.com to get that feeling. ADT. Home. Safe home.
Hey everyone, Mike Golic here. Support for the Mike and Mike podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. Rocket Mortgage is simple, allowing you to fully understand all the details and be confident you're getting the right mortgage for you. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS, consumeraccess.org number 3030.
All right, we are Mike and Mike. We have a lot to get to this morning. There was just posted a really, really interesting piece. I've actually had it for about a day here from Seth Wickersham and Don Van Natta with insight into what really happened at last week's NFL owners meetings where the players came and they talked at great length about a variety of off-the-field issues of which you are certainly aware. Great insight in that piece, a lot of detail. We'll get to that coming up shortly. But first, let's do the ridiculousness that is Love It or Shove It with Bubba, who, as I look up on my monitor, Bubba, where exactly is it you are?
What's up, guys? Yeah, I'm just at my house. Yeah, just.
Wait a minute, your house.
That's
you
your
look
house?
Like you're sitting in front of a castle.
The castle.
Yeah, no, things are doing pretty well over here.
What is that? What is
Love
that
it or
shirt?
shove it, yeah. What?
It's a pumpkin.
Oh, I'm just really excited for Halloween.
Like a carved pumpkin.
Got my mug. Got my mansion.
Do you give
got my shirt.
Do you give out small candy or the big size candy?
It kind of varies. I size up each person and decide what they deserve.
Do the kids have a hard time getting there through the moat to do their trick-or-treating?
Well, I put down the drawbridge, so it's fine.
It's excellent use of drawbridge. I mean, look at...
Yeah, it's a pretty sweet house. Yeah, no, I mean, things are...
Is that
things
Versailles?
are going pretty well for me in the Love It or Shove It realm.
I would think so.
I think you know what all the money came from when we would do the lottery.
Oh,
the
that's exactly
Powerball.
right.
Took all our money from that.
That's
yeah,
a great...
No, that was good. That was really good. Thank you, guys. Yeah. that addition in the southwest corner, that was Powerball.
It's a great Mike and Mike memory. Back in the day, Bubba would collect money from all of us to buy Powerball tickets, and then every single week he'd say, "Oh, sorry, we didn't win." And we're convinced that he pocketed all the money. How much did you wind up?
Of that, hashtag MM thanks. Let's make a throwback of that, huh?
How much did you wind up pocketing on that all told?
I think it was like $6,000. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No,
Bought you that house behind you.
No, yeah, we just never won. It was weird. Yeah, our numbers were never pulled.
But you know what he did? He, like any brilliant Ponzi schemer, he kept us in it. He was like, we actually won $71 this week.
You could not do it.
I did a great job.
Yeah, you did. You were very good at that, and we were suckers.
We really were.
Yeah.
All right. Bubba's got Love It or Shove It, which is brought to you by Granger. Bubba, what do we have?
Joe Girardi will be a manager somewhere next season. Love it or shove it.
There's part of me because it was the choice was made for him that he's going to want to get right back into it, where if he chose himself, he may back away from it for a little bit. So for that reason, I'll say I love it. I think he'll want to jump back into it, but would not be shocked at all if he is broadcasting for a year or so.
Are there any openings right now besides Washington? Is that the only Philadelphia's open? I mean, the only reason I'd say shove it is that there's just a limited window of opportunity.
I guess I should have found that out before I said.
Well, I'm just most other teams finished their seasons a month ago.
You're right. I changed my mind. I'm shoving it.
I'm going to say shove it just based on the. I mean, if the Nationals don't want him, could he go to Philly? He could. Is that a building situation? Is that what he wants? I think if he were offered the Nationals job, I'd be surprised if he didn't take it.
I agree with that.
But because that's just one situation, I'll say I shove it. Bubba,
where
are you now?
Behind you is a TP'd.
Yeah, it looks like the kids got a little rambunctious last night.
They TP'd your tree?
Yeah.
I used to do that when I was young.
Yeah, they got me good.
Yeah.
You used to do what? You would put toilet paper in people's trees?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's really cool when you do it the right way and you throw that roll and it just unfurls right over just how you want it to. It's really cool.
Yeah, I'm noticing that right now.
And then you hope it rains after that. Oh, man, then you really got to win. Kids, don't try that at home.
Yeah, no, they got me good in my mansion last night. My love it or shove it mansion. Thanks, Granger.
All right, Bubba, what's next?
One of the Power 5 conference undefeated college football teams will lose this weekend. Love it or shove it.
Wow. Penn State, Ohio State, the undefeateds are Georgia, who plays Florida, TCU plays Iowa State, Wisconsin plays Illinois, and Miami plays North Carolina. I think that the betting safe would be saying Penn State going to Ohio State. Of all those games, I would say.
Well, Iowa State has pulled off that huge upset earlier this year.
They did that, yeah.
That was at Oklahoma, if memory serves. This one is at Iowa State. So could they do that? Florida has given Georgia a hard time.
They have, but I like Georgia this year a lot. I would lean to Penn State or TCU.
Who's going to win the Penn State Ohio State game? Who's going to win that game?
I think Penn State is, but if you're asking me this question, the best chance for the possibility of an undefeated losing, I think it'd be Penn State.
Yeah, so I'm going to say shove it. I'm going to say I think they all win. The question is one of the Power 5 conferences unbeaten teams will lose. I'm going to say shove it.
Okay.
I think they're all going to win.
I misread the question, which is not shocking for me. I shove it as well. I think they're all going to win.
They're all going to win as well. I agree with you. Penn State would be the one you'd look at. I think they're going to win too. Mike loving it or shoving it with Bubba, where are you now, Bubba?
Oh, I'm just outside my butler's quarters. As you'll see, it's a little smaller, but I was just decorating his stuff.
So nice. You have the skeleton out there.
Jeeves is a good guy. Yeah, he's a good guy.
Looks good. Okay.
Yeah.
What do you got next?
LeBron says the last thing he wants to accomplish in the NBA is shooting 80% from the line. Love it or shove it.
Oh, how can you not love that? I mean, that's the weakest part of his game at this point, right? I mean, we just went through a game where they're down 2 with 10 seconds to go, and he missed the first shot of 2 shots, so he had to miss the second one on purpose. He hasn't done well from that aspect, and his free throw shooting isn't great. So, you make your streak a weakness a strength, and that's one of the last very few weaknesses he has that he can improve upon.
His best free throw shooting season was 78%. The 08-09 season in Cleveland.
Career is 74.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure what there is
that's
to
not
love.
Awful.
I'm not sure what there is to love or shove about this. If there is a knock on LeBron's game, which is maybe the most diversely great game in the history of basketball, the one is he's not a great foul shooter. So the idea that that's the one thing left he wants to accomplish, I would think that he would be very happy to shoot 76% and win the ring, right? I think that's a little more important. So I'm going to shove it, but I don't really understand it.
There you go.
Bubba, what is this now? Where are you now?
No, I actually just made a quick stop at Rite Aid. I'm just big on dental hygiene, so I just want to pick up some toothbrushes.
You don't give out toothbrushes, do you? Okay.
No.
Again,
I just happen to be in front of 500 toothbrushes.
Okay, I'll have that conversation.
I'm not buying for Halloween.
All right, I'll have that conversation next week on those people that give out pennies or toothbrushes or
don't want
other
that. I just like clean teeth.
Stupid stuff like that.
By the way, speaking of that, and weren't really. We got our Halloween costumes for this year. You and
yes,
me.
We did.
This is going to be our best one yet.
I like it a lot.
We're going out with a bang.
Hope mine fits.
Don't miss next week. I'm telling you right now, our Halloween costumes.
And
are
you know
awesome.
what? Kind of fits us.
Yeah. I'll tell a funny story about it when you see what it is. Meanwhile, Bubba, what's our next love or shove?
Can't wait for that. Am I going to be involved?
No.
Could you be more involved? You're sitting there in a pumpkin shirt right now.
No, but on Halloween, am I going to be dressing up with you guys or
if
what?
You're not busy at your mansion.
Yeah, no, I usually am. The Knicks are the worst team in the NBA. Love it or shove it.
Right now, you have to say you love it.
Yeah, they're the last winless team.
And not only that, but I mean, they've got players saying that they don't know the plays. Like Courtney Lee was saying, the problem we have right now is our guys don't know the plays. What do you mean you don't know the plays? What have you been doing? They don't know the plays.
I don't even understand.
That's a legitimate quote. Someone pull that up. I'm not making that up.
I don't understand that. Didn't you just have like training camp and preseason and that whole thing?
Yeah, and it's not a team that has gone through enormous amounts of personnel change. Now, maybe they stopped being forced to run whatever triangle they were running last year based on Phil not being there anymore. But I mean, you'd think you'd know the plays. That was one of the stories of the other day. Here it is. This is Courtney Lee says the team's problem is they don't pay enough attention during practice and need to study the playbook. Tim Hardaway Jr. said we're all out there just running like we don't know what's going on. Okay.
What is that?
That inspires great confidence.
Holy smokes.
So
we're going to love this one.
Yeah. Are they the worst team?
Yeah.
Sure they are. All right, last one. I like this story. Bubba, go.
Kyrie Irving really thought he was playing on a court from the 68-69 season. Love it or shove it.
Did you see this?
Go ahead, explain this story.
They played a game. The Celtics and Bucks played a game in Milwaukee, and they played it in the arena of UW Milwaukee. It's a small arena, and they called it Mecca Night. The Mecca is the building that the Bucks used to play in. It was It was a professional arena. It wasn't that long ago. I remember being in it when I was in college. So they painted the floor to look like the old Mecca used to.
Right.
And Kyrie said he took 3 steps on the floor and said, this is not an NBA level court. I'm worried about player safety. And they explained to him, no, this is the same court you play on.
Court, yes.
They just painted it differently.
Yes, yeah.
And then after the game, this is the part of it I liked. After the game, Kyrie was like, well, I see people made a very big deal about what I said. It got blown up out of proportion. And the thought that I had on that was, well, you wanted to be the star.
Yes, you did.
You know, now you know what that's like. Every word LeBron says. Every word that LeBron James says, that Kobe Bryant said, that the superstars, the guys, the number one guys on their team, every word they say, a big deal is made of it, whether it should be or it shouldn't be. So a big deal was made of this,
yes,
and that's the reality.
That's the reality of it. So I love it or shove it. I don't know what he thought he was playing on a floor that was really, really old.
Yeah, and I don't listen. If that's what he thought, that's what he thought. I'm not saying he wasn't within his rights to think that. If no one explained it to him in a way that he understood at that point, the part of the story I thought was interesting was that afterwards he seemed to be a bit miffed or surprised that a big deal had been made of this.
Right.
And that's what I was thinking is, you know what? You want to be that guy? Then a big deal is going to be made of every word you say.
Yeah, it's very
right
true.
or wrong, whether you like it or not. That's the reality. And that's, of course, always true of Bubba as
Thanks,
well.
Bubba.
Love it or shove it, brought to you by Grainger. No matter the job, Grainger's got your back. Grainger for the ones who get it done. What are your plans in the mansion today, Bubba?
I'm just probably going to hang out in the parlor, in the billiard room. If you guys want to swing by. Yeah, just let me know.
Put our name on the list, okay?
Yeah, no, there's a list. Yeah, and I'll have to put the drawbridge down again. I usually try and do it once, so let me know. But I'll be in the study.
He's going to be.
I'll be in the
parlor,
in the rooms.
I don't even know.
I don't know why I found that funny, but I did. Bubba, that was leather bound
books.
Thanks, Bubba.
Thank you, Bubba.
Leather, well done, Anchorman.
It's Brendan Bubba Peregrine.
Really quick, I had a
quickly.
You're done. We're done with you. So.
Mike's still on. Quickly,
someone turn his mic off. In Philly, you know, when we played at the old Vet, when the Phillies played there as well.
Sure.
We played, and then the Phillies played. We got this rookie. We were out during walkthrough, like at noon, I think, on Friday or whatever it was. And that turf was horrific. And the rookie was like, man, I can't believe we're playing this turf. And we were like, what are you talking about? I said, well, it's the turf we play on. I said, no, that's the Phillies turf. They roll this up, and they put new turf down for our games.
Uh-huh.
They're like, they do that every time we have a game? They change the turf? We're like, oh, yeah.
And it wasn't true at all.
Oh, no, it wasn't.
But they should have.
The dumbest rookie known to mankind.
And it was the worst field ever.
Oh, it was horrific.
It was an absolute disgrace. All right, quick break here, and then back with great detail. This is a really important story. I think it's very interesting. It's extremely well reported, and you will hear the details next.
Hey girl, have you done something new with your scales? Using new moisturizer? Nice. It really brings out the hazel in your eyes. Oh, hold on. Are you using whitening strips too? Your fangs look good, girl. Really good.
A really charming snake charmer? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
Wait, what? Have you been doing Pilates too?
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
All right, I'm posting this right now. This is a really, really interesting story that Seth Wickersham and Don Van Natta, who do a lot of our best investigative work here at ESPN, have written and has just gone up online. I just posted it. It's on ESPN.com. It's all over the place. And it is the story of behind the scenes, what happened at those owners' meetings last week, Mike,
right,
in Lower Manhattan, where a variety of NFL players and the leadership of the Players Association were invited to talk about the issues of protests during the national anthem.
They're supposed to meet again this Tuesday.
Correct.
Right.
And the impact that it's having on the league. So there were a variety of stories that came out of that, and you were hearing kind of mixed things from different people. Here are some of the top-level bullet points, headlines coming out of that. So I'll read one, Mike, and then you just give me a quick thought, and we'll go through it. First, sponsors were described as rattled, including one that was threatening to pull out if there was a mandate for players to stand. They actually mentioned specifically some of the sponsors they're talking about, including Papa John's and USAA.
So everybody who's mad at the players for kneeling. They're saying here, if the league made a rule for them to stand, there would be sponsors that would leave them.
At least one. Again, sponsors were rattled, including one that was threatening to pull out if there was a mandate for players to stand. 11 owners were in the meeting with players. Headliners like Jerry Jones, Bob McNair, and Dan Snyder were not invited. Excuse me, not headliners. Excuse me, hardliners, which is a very important distinction.
Yes, it is.
I'm reading this off some small print here. Hardliners like Jerry Jones, Bob McNair, and Dan Snyder were not invited. Players told the owners there that the larger group of owners was being duplicitous, supporting them privately but not stepping out publicly. Demario Davis, linebacker of the Jets, apparently said, guys will stand up if you hear them, which sort of goes back to what Booger was saying here on the air. You want guys to stand up, listen to what we're asking for. Pay attention to what we want here, and then the guys will stand.
Let's be a part of at least a solution that we can have some say in.
The NFL's VP of Social Responsibility led a group that put together a proposal to respond to players' concerns. It was widely panned by the league's business executives, but supported full bore by Goodell. In the meeting, Goodell was impressive, leading in a way the players hadn't seen. He told owners they weren't hearing players' concerns and seemed compassionate to players in the face of pressure from hardline owners and business executives. The 11 owners reported back to the full ownership group that afternoon, but a full discussion wasn't held until the second day. Snyder and Jones were passionate about the business impact the protests were having. McNair said, quote, we can't have the inmates running the asylum, end quote. Former player and current NFL executive Troy Vincent was offended by the inmate remark and said as much. I
would agree with that.
There was no vote on a mandate to stand, but an unofficial tally had only 9 owners in favor of a mandate. Some of this was seen as a rebuke to Jerry Jones for a variety of reasons, including putting them all in a corner with his hardline comments. Overall, just as the meeting with the players was constructive dialogue, the owners' meetings themselves were more contentious.
Well, what I'll say is, as far as I didn't think we were going to come out with a mandate or a new rule, because I think that would have poisoned what they were trying to accomplish. If all of a sudden you went in there and tried to have a conversation about players saying, listen, we'll stand if you hear us, let's work together on something, and then the league were to come out of that and say, we're making a rule, you have to stand, you're just aggravating the situation, in my opinion. So that wasn't going to be the answer to that. It was going to be, okay, if we can show some positive things that we can do in our cities, let's take care of what we can take care of. We can take care of things in the cities we do, and if players want to do it in other places, that's fine as well. But we have 32 NFL cities. If we want to work with league and players in those cities to do some things concretely, then that's a good thing to do. And hopefully there are plans to do that. I've read some of the proposed plans that hopefully they'll talk about again. We'll see. I mean, we'll see where that goes. You wanted it to leave. I didn't think anything was going to come out of that first meeting with pen to paper. Whether it was we agree to give you X amount of help or money or whatever in each city with players work together, or there's a mandate you have to stand. That was an initial meeting, and I think you wanted to be an amicable meeting. And then the next one, the Tuesday, if they in fact have this meeting, I think you can get down to hopefully more brass tacks of, okay, now what physically concrete things can we do?
Once again, there's a lot of detail. It's really well reported in the story. Seth Wickersham, Don Van Natta. It's up online right now. Joey Galloway on his way in the studio next. Mike and Mike.
Computer, execute 12.4p operation.
Optimizing algorithm. Running encryption packet alpha. Night. Oh, I don't feel so good.
What is it, computer?
Is it hot in here? It feels hot in here. I feel a little clammy. I should lie down or something.
A computer with a virus? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
Those oysters Rockefeller were a mistake.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15%.